Hello and welcome back to the SMAL F1 League in Tier 1. It's round 13 of the Tier 1 League. We're here in Silverstone. Apologies for the lateness. I had a couple of technical difficulties as we have the Ferrari driver go to the top of the leaderboard. That'll be Maltha there with a 126.2 separated by 0.3 of a second to Kevin, the McLaren driver. Ahead of Bartek in P3 currently, who just invalidated his lap. Bit rough and ready today because I thought the stream was an hour later, but it's fine, we're here and we're ready to get racing and have some good qualifying sessions around Silverstone. Obviously a classic track, we've seen a lot of action here in the past. Just excuse me for a second while I try and get my graphics to start working. And we're currently looking at Quickie in the Alfa Romeo. I know it says player, but half a second down on the time set by the Ferrari of Maltha there. I wonder if this is indeed a push lap. Let's have a look at the Halo HUD. No information on the ERS battery. I suspect this may be... Oh, it's not an in-lap. Not entirely sure what's going on there, but Quickie, who's shown some immense pace and as recently as yesterday was on the podium at Suzuka in Tier 2. Goes up to P3, so actually not too bad of a time at all for Quickie. I'm just going to see if I can go and find the the names file so I can get the right numbers for everyone. Stand by. As Chocolati, the reserve Tier 1 McLaren driver, goes up into P6, and Ethan, who's currently subbing in today for Red Bull, going P2. Very impressive from the Red Bull Tier 2 driver, showing some outright pace, less than a 1/10 of a second separating him and the Ferrari in P1. I do need to get these names sorted, because otherwise I'm not going to be able to tell who's who. So I'm going to see if I can get that sorted before the start of the race, because that's more important, so you guys can actually see what's going on. As the Aston Martin of Outcast goes P13. Just keeping an eye out, trying to see if there are any of these I can get. Not entirely sure why it's not correctly showing the right names, but I'll see what I can do to fix that. Just stand by for a moment. as Kevin goes to provisional pole with 7 minutes of the session still remaining. Okay, I think we're getting somewhere with that. Quickie showing correctly, Bartek incorrectly showing as DMA there. See what I can do to fix that. I think we're nearly there. As we're currently riding on board with Buddy, who's today subbing in for one of the the AlphaTauri team. Just going through Maggots and Beckett's there. Pretty decent time so far, but 1 second off the pace still. As things stand, that would put them P6 at the moment. Obviously, a return to the league for Buddy, who hasn't been around for quite a couple months, but pretty solid return to form with a points finish yesterday in Suzuka. They can be very proud of. Just missed out on P4 by the narrowest of margins, so I think we can expect a lot of really good things as it's P10 for Buddy. Got a couple of other drivers around, Nikos as well as Nick, two Greek drivers now on different teams. Just get driver 72 corrected here, just real quick. Should say Buddy. There we go. Cool. Buddy, P10 with 5 minutes to go until the end of the session. I think we may be sorted for our driver numbers finally and our driver names. Apologies for the way in which that sort of the clumsy way about which this has come about. It obviously was very last minute for me, but we make do as Ethan just ran in the final corner. Not final corner, the final corner of the old circuit, but just heading into Cops, personal best through the first sector. Ethan, hugely talented driver, just missed out yesterday with a DNF, unfortunately, subject to some significant controversy. But looking to bounce back in Tier 1 when he reserves, but 5/10 off the pace, half a second nearly separating, more than half a second separating Kevin from Ethan. I think this is where we start to see the difference between Tier 1 and Tier 2, but that does not count out the Red Bull driver at all, who's currently lining up on the second row. This may well be his last attempt at a flying lap as he rounds the final corner. Where does he end up? On the front row of the grid, only 4/10 behind, did manage to make up some time there. Pretty impressive as he loses it, just manages to keep it tidy, avoids finding the wall, but not sure what happened there. I think he just had a snap of oversteer, but scary nonetheless for the Red Bull driver. As we're riding on board with, who's this? This is Maltha. Shouldn't say John, it should say Maltha. There we go. Maltha in the Ferrari, who was previously on provisional pole earlier in the session, heating up the tyres in the traditional way. Not sure if that's the most effective way of doing it in the actual game, but we are where we are, and Malthy is here on the final corner, getting ready to start his presumably final flying lap as Buddy has retired from the session. I don't know where that's happened, but that will be Buddy's final flying lap, best position of 11th place. As Malthy just goes around turn 4 to turn 5, power down on the throttle, full commitment into the first DRS zone, first of two around this Silverstone circuit. Where is he? He's 0.3 of a second behind the McLaren of Kevin at the end of the first sector, so still all to play for, but advantage Kevin at this time. going round Stowe corner there into turn 8. Flat out, full commitment. Depending on the setup you have, you can just keep your foot down, and the Ferrari driver absolutely does have full commitment in the equipment underneath him. Got a yellow flag in sector 2. That's a McLaren coming up, as well as a Red Bull just rounding the corner there, but doesn't seem to have deterred the Ferrari at all, who is lost another tenth and a half on the McLaren there as he passes the man on pole currently with 1.5 minutes left of the session. Malfi just going around the final couple of corners, just misses the apex, outbrakes himself slightly going into turn 17, but turn 18 keeping it nice and tidy. Bit of curve on the exit, 0.6 behind, does not improve unfortunately for the Ferrari driver. That may be the best we'll see from Ferrari today, as there is not enough time left in the session to do another outlap. Same can't be said for Quickie, the current Tier 2 championship leader, just rounding the final couple of corners, ahead of the other Ferrari of Duco, just starting his final flying lap. Lots going on here at Silverstone. Turn 1, keeping it nice and tidy as Duco goes into P4. That's a Ferrari second row lockout there, but we've still got 30 seconds left in the session as Snox now separates them. The Mercedes driver and Tier 2 commentator doing very well to get that Mercedes just behind the Ferrari of Malta. Not much separating them at all, just 0.03 of a second, as Quickie is now 2.5 tenths behind the pole position as things stand. SJ going up into 5th place. Very impressive stuff from the defending Tier 1 champion. Let's see what Quickie can do going through the incredibly fast turn 9 and Maggots and Beckett's, the pair of corners here. Qualifying is now over. We've got a green flag clear, so we're going to start to see our drivers start to collect the checkered flag now, as a couple of drivers are in the pits. Malfi's now retired from the session. DRS wide open, half a second off. It's all to play for between that first and that second place, and at the moment it's a McLaren front row lockout as Chocolati goes onto the front row alongside his teammate, 0.3 of a second down. Quickie going off the track, but just about convincing the game that he didn't gain any time. Let's see what Quickie can do. He only has to improve from 0.9 down, and he is now 0.5 down, separates the two Ferraris, gets ahead of Snox. It's a third row start for the Tier 2 championship leader. Let's see what Snox can do. Snox can't do anything. He's invalidated his lap. And Kevin goes faster still, extending that gap out to 0.7 of a second. Unbelievable stuff there from the McLaren driver as Anton goes onto pole position at the very last part of asking, separated by less than 1/10 of a second. SJ opts to bail out of that lap. We totally missed Anton, the several-time Tier 1 champion there, making his mark where it mattered and spoiling a McLaren 1-2 lineup for the British Grand Prix. And with that, I believe that is qualifying over. So we'll see you momentarily for the race itself. And with qualifying over, it's Anton on pole position, leading from Kevin and Chocolati, the two McLarens there, keeping the Alfa Romeo company. With Ethan, the Tier 2 championship challenger, just showing his worth, extremely good. P4 lining up on the second row of the grid, followed by Malfi and Quickie. P6 perhaps a bit disappointing for him. Snox and SJ alongside each other, the two Germans. Bartek and Duco round out the top 10. I'm not racing. It thinks I'm racing though. Stand by for a second, guys. Okay, even though I'm not racing, let's ignore this because I'm just going to retire from the race now as a result of the glitches there that have been happening. But it looks like it's lights out and away we go. And Anton leading into the first turn. I'm going entirely based off of the first corner here. But as you can see, things moving very, very quickly indeed. Anton just retaining the lead from the two McLarens, but the McLaren's being put under pressure by Ethan. The Red Bull there. Sorry, we haven't got our things, but there is a safety car very early on. And Chocolat, I'm not sure how things ended up moving there as the pack straightens itself out. But Chocolat just holding on to that second place. That third place, rather, behind Anton and Kevin. Not sure why we got the safety car there. But we are where we are. Just stand by for a moment. Let's see if there's any damage to any of the cars. Just having a quick scan through. It looks like Quickie's lost a lot of places on that start, irrespective of the glitches that it put me under. As we see our first bit of damage, that is Ziesel with a front left end plate missing on that Haas. Let's have a look who this is. Driver 21. I don't even know who this is. This is a new driver, IBICY. I don't know what their actual name is. But up 3 positions. Quickie with no front wing, despite what the damage indicator says. No front wing on that Alfa Romeo, deciding to go into the pits. Got a number of drivers into the pits now. But a series of penalties now for drivers across the grid. Let's have a look, see if we're getting any of the penalties. Do we actually see any of the penalties? 2 penalties for IBICY and for Quickie. 2 5 seconds. We'll have to see how that goes on, as Quickie does not serve that 5-second penalty, but has to take a slow stop because of the front wing change that's required on that Alfa Romeo. But it is an Alfa Romeo sandwich. Well, it was an Alfa Romeo sandwich. It's an Alfa Romeo and AlphaTauri sandwich now, as Buddy also looks to have sustained some damage in that altercation at the start. But we have 17 drivers on our grid today. So it is pretty packed. Notwithstanding me at the bottom for some reason. But Anton leading from Kevin, from Chocolat. Not much change in the top 5. No change at all, in fact. But Stocks, SJ, Bartek, and Nick, picking up positions as a result of the loss of positions by Quickie there. Duco holding steady, P10. Alfie up 6 places. Continually impressive is the Red Bull lineup. It's actually really a tier 2 Red Bull representation today, and they're running P4 and P11 currently with a combined gain of 6 places. So pretty impressive from them, but we'll have to see how this plays out as we just wait for the pack to group back up again, and we see the safety car called in. Just stand by for that. as we're seeing Quickie opt to serve that penalty and opt to go onto the hard compound tyres. Obviously, there's a benefit to serving a 5-second time penalty under safety cars. The entire field is the race is immobilised, and no drivers are allowed to overtake each other. So you lose a lot less time, and the safety car does wait until everyone is bunched up. So there is benefit to serving your penalty as much as possible, and I think everyone's eagerly awaiting to see what Quickie can do over the rest of the race, because obviously we had safety car come out on the first couple of corners, so there is a lot expected of the tier 2 driver, but the order is staying pretty much the same as we just wait for the safety car to be called in, presumably at the end of this lap. And the safety car has been called in at the end of this lap. Anton will be pacing the field from the two McLarens of Kevin and Chocolade, who I imagine are going to be all over that Alfa Romeo like nobody's business. But Kevin's no stranger to these, and he's no stranger to the top step of the podium, but neither is Anton, as Anton decides to go early into turn 17 and turn 18, has already managed to get half a second on his teammate, but so has Kevin on his teammate. Chocolade, who's just fallen behind there with another retirement. That's Nick going out at the first point of Oscar. That's a big crash. We didn't even see what happened there, but another crash from Quickie, who is out of the race. We just saw that Alfa Romeo disappear there, as well as Bartek, and there's another safety car for reasons that I'm not entirely sure of at all, but I'll let you know as soon as I find out. It's been a series of retirements, and even Buddy leaving the session there following. It looks like some more contact to that AlphaTauri. Not sure what's happened there at all, but we are 4 laps into this race and we've had 4 retirements. So we'll have to take a look at that. Had another driver leave the session. Number of drivers leaving the session. Let's have a look, see what happens. Okay, yeah, just confirming there that my connection has not just gone out. This has been a problem in recent weeks, but I have since moved Wi-Fi, so we'll have to see what happens. Buddy has opted to pit, going onto another set of medium tyres as well as a new front wing, which should help the AlphaTauri driver in their pursuit of more points. As Buddy rejoins, some AI going on there, but literally no change to the top 5 at all over the course of this race. I expect we'll get probably one more lap of safety car before safety car is called in. By the time we get going again, we'll have only about 20 laps of racing left, so that's 6 laps already gone of this race, and we've only had about 2 or 3 green flagged corners. So we'll have to see. At this rate, it is looking like it's going to be a procession for the McLarens and the Alfa Romeo, but we shall have to see. Join us in just a little bit when we get going again. And with that, we have the safety car in this lap as confirmed by race control. Anton once again leading the pack away. Hopefully the pack can get through the first couple of corners as you see a series of cars weaving, but I think you can see towards the front as that is a bit of McLaren M plate disappeared now from the second McLaren driver, the tier 1 reserve of Chocolati, losing some front wing there and opting to go into the pits. That's just gifted that position to Ethan, who now runs P3. Snox also looking like he's going into the pits as Anton leads away from Kevin, but already a second separating them. So, you know, lots of change already happening throughout this race as the Ferrari of Malta gets very, very close to the back of the Red Bull. Not much separating them at all as we've had another retirement, and it is a Red Bull going out there. Not sure where that happened or how that happened even, but we saw the Red Bull of Ethan spinning out earlier. Is there going to be a safety car? I hope not. I don't think there is going to be. It looks like we've managed to get through it all right, but Anton leading away from Kevin, who's just about gaining as we go through the second half of the 7th lap. But Ethan dropping behind by about a second and a half. Alfie may have rejoined the track, but it may have rejoined the session, but he's not going to be able to rejoin the race as Buddy once again having connection issues, but Kevin getting over closer. That gap now down to just 0.4 of a second. Let's switch over to interval as opposed to leader so we can see the real gaps between these. The Red Bull also being put under a lot of pressure by the Ferrari, who goes for a lunge down the inside of turn 15, just thinks better of it as Ethan sweeps around the outside. What's the Ferrari going to do? Is the Ferrari really cannot afford to stay in the dirty air behind the Red Bull for too long, as Kevin sets the fastest lap of the race so far. That's the first representative one we've had, 1:28.7, faster than some people's qualifying times, as we've had another retirement and another safety car. That's unfortunate, and unfortunately it is going to impact the race, the excitement of this race quite a bit. But it looks like a severe collision with Chocolat has given Snox a 5-second time penalty. The good news for him, he's going to be able to serve that in the pits if he does so wish during this safety car period. And as you can see, the entire field in the bottom right of your screen has passed the point of the safety car. Snox opting not to go into the pits there, interestingly. But because the field has passed the safety car line, they are subject to the delta, which is a way of neutralizing the pace of the pace of the teams. So I feel like Snox may have just missed out there by not serving that 5-second time penalty. Irrespective, Chocolat now running down in 10th place. I believe that is there damage to that car? No damage to that car, but unfortunately down and out from the podium positions, which now have Anton still sitting at the top, Kevin just behind, but this time Ethan having gained on that restart, Malthy just not having the time to make the move. Stand by once again, I can't keep ad-libbing forever, so I'm going to just read out some commentary if there is anything, as Anton, Kevin and Ethan opt to go into the pits for the first time in this race, so that is going to be very interesting for them to see how that turns out, as Malthy inherits the lead of this race on the hard compound tyres. Let's see, that's Ethan going onto the hards, that's Kevin going onto the hards, I believe Anton as well going onto the hard compound tyres. I think there's going to be hard compound tyres for everyone who's pitting now, even Outcast, who's the currently reserving for Aston Martin, having an incredibly good time in the Tier 2 League at the moment. Currently sitting, I believe, P8 in the standings. So impressive stuff from the Alfa Romeo Tier 2 driver. But that is the 6th retirement of the race we've had with the Williams. Snox still opting to stay out, interestingly enough. But it's going to take a while for this for the field to bunch up once again. So we'll see what happens as Chocolat leaves the pits. And we're just getting confirmation there that due to technical issues, unfortunately, Buddy will be forced to retire from this session, which is deeply disappointing. But you know, fortunately, there are other chances for the Ferrari driver. And with that, once more, the safety car is back in. I think this is the fourth safety car we've had. Third safety car. I don't know. We're getting a lot of safety cars today. But Malfi leading from Duco. It's currently a Ferrari 1-2 at the front of the British Grand Prix today. With Zisel and Nick in third and fourth. Anton, the net leader of this race, in P5. How many pit stops have drivers done? Still to do pit stops, Nikos, Duco and Malfi, which does technically mean that Zisel has the net lead of this race, depending on the pace of those tyres. Was that a bit of contact that we saw there? I'm not sure, but it does allow Kevin to get right past going into the first couple of corners, as Kevin is now spun out. I'm not sure if that's impact, but that is an impact on Kevin's car, and that is going to be probably another safety car, as we've had a lot of retirements there. I think this may even have to be, unfortunately, a restart for our drivers. I think this may have to be a red flag, but drivers should stand by for that message. But very, very messy restart there for the drivers. Okay, and with that, unfortunately, we have to call a restart for today's session. Please stand by for further information.